Hello, everybody. My name is Jared. I play Lonnie Haybear in Rad Rolls, and today we will be rolling up characters for our STARFIELD one-shot. STARFIELD, an exciting new property coming out from Bethesda on September the something?
1st or 6th.
Okay, I
First,
think I have
if you pay money. 6th, if you pay less money.
Okay. So, pay to play, pay to win, pay. I mean, I guess you win if you play early. I don't know. So, that we are doing a one-shot adventure that commemorates the release of STARFIELD. As you know, we've played several. We've paid homage to several Bethesda properties on the Rad Rolls podcast, and I have been asked to run our STARFIELD one shot for better or for worse. Now, I have a lot of experience with Starfinder, which is a Paizo product who just recently announced today at Gen Con that they will be doing a second edition Starfinder. It's a little too early to be doing second edition Starfinder. And there's a wealth of sci-fi properties out there as far as tabletop games go that we could use for this particular one shot. But I've opted to go with the Cypher system, which is a published by Monty Cook. They recently had a very successful Kickstarter, I believe it was, with a lot of additional properties. So I will be using the Cypher system sort of standard reference document. It's the second edition, the revised edition that came out a few years ago. It is genre agnostic, doesn't really have any one-shots or anything. It's basically the bare bones Cypher experience to try to get you to create your best game. In addition, I'll be using some of the source book, The Stars Are Fire, which came out, I believe, in 2020, which incorporates some sci-fi elements. So we'll be using that to help supplement things. But this is going to be pretty free form. If you're looking for a reference to kind of like, hey, what did they run? You're not going to find this. This is going to be quite a bit of homebrew, quite a bit of rules fudging to get this to work. But work it will. I'm pretty confident that this will make for a very good STARFIELD experience, even though we don't really know what STARFIELD is. We know that it is skills laden, similar to our Elder Scrolls games, but I think this will allow us the flexibility to really do what we want to, and that's kind of what Todd Howard's laid upon us, is like you can do whatever you want. And I think this system is going to help us do whatever we want. And to start, we need some heroes. So for those of you following along, maybe interested in the Cypher system, I'll try to give you page numbers and stuff and sort of walk you through what we'll be doing. But I believe Cypher system is probably new to all of the players here, with the exception of Dave. Dave had the opportunity to play a little bit of Cypher system at a local gaming convention. I ran a one-shot that was inspired by The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which should give you an idea of how flexible the Cypher system is as far as adventures and whatnot. So Dave has a little bit of experience, but those were pre-generated characters, and we're going to be making fresh, brand new heroes / heathens to get into some mischief.
And with that experience, I'll win. I'll just win.
Yeah, so this is a game where you win. And since he's already caught it, he gets 5 points. So everyone's already behind.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. So for us to start, Chapter 4 of the Cypher system document is creating your character, and this kind of walks you through the process of making a character. Now, Cypher system has a general format which sort of describes your character. So For example, Jared is a adjective, noun who verbs. So the noun is kind of the type of your character. So there's a warrior, an adept, a speaker, and an explorer. Those are kind of like your four major classes. So the adjective kind of gives you some additional flavor for what this type of character is. And then the verb is what's called your foci. So this sort of gives you some additional feats. This gives you additional powers, additional abilities. All of these things combine to create a character that's very unique. So you have multiple pulls that you're kind of drawing from to create this character. In addition to those four types, there are flavors. I know I used flavor a little bit earlier. That was a bit malapropos, but flavors actually will adjust some of these characters a little bit more. So there's like a magic flavor, there is a skills flavor, a technology flavor. These sort of influence those types a little bit more to fine tune what this character is, because there were only four classes. And it's like, okay, there's warrior, there's speaker, which is kind of like your face character, your adept, which is kind of your magic character, and your explorer, which is kind of a catch-all. So if you're not really happy with any of those, you can actually adjust them and tweak them a little bit with those flavors, with those adjectives, with those verbs, to make something that's going to be a bit more close to what you had in mind. So there's so we'll get into it. So let's talk about character concepts a little bit and see what people had in mind and what they wanted to play. And I'm just going to roll a d4 and figure out who goes first. Oh, David, you get to go first. David, tell us about your character concept. What are you envisioning your Starfinder character to be like?
Finder character. It's a different game.
Yeah, Starfield.
About Starfinder
the Paizo knows.
Starfield.
Yep, I'm going to have to put that in big letters somewhere, because I'm probably going to do that very often.
We're going to change you, Jared. We're going to change you. Slowly, we'll be melting your brain down and changing you, and Starfinder won't exist anymore, and there will just be the Starfield. My character, I've decided that I want to play a robot. This robot has been has a personality chip deactivated for several inordinate amount of time, so that it's pretty much seen some shit and is pretty what would I say? It's pretty good at a lot of stuff via its gadgets. And I was thinking some of the classes, or those four classes, an adept would probably be a good fit for a robot that is effectively Inspector Gadget. Is not necessarily equipped to do all these things, but can shoot fire out of his hand, or do effectively what is magic, but based on I'm if you've watched Inspector Gadget doesn't necessarily have the most feasible gadgets, but he's definitely got some pretty advanced technology that he's working with, you know what I mean, that may seem like magic. I'm trying to make a thing that Inspector Gadget was indeed a magician.
Yeah, I mean, essentially magic is just technology that we haven't quite figured out yet. So right. I like that idea, and I think some of the powers.
I tell myself every night before I go to bed.
I mean, who among us hasn't? So I think that is a clever way of using the adept's magic and incorporating that into, a character. And that's the nice thing about Cypher too, is that, you can have a game with, robots and humans and aliens and all this stuff, and it really doesn't influence. It's not like a fifth ed where there's big differences between how a dwarf plays versus an elf. There's not, massive difference. You want to play a robot? Sure. It's more for flavor and story and stuff anyway. So I
Right.
do like that concept. So we have a robot with the personality chip that's been sort of um, experienced, and with an assorted array of gadgets available to it. So next up we have Mike. So what is our character concept?
All right, I want to play a guy who used to be a famous sports figure. Like he was a Joe Namath, Michael Jordan, a Shaquille O'Neal type, where he was really famous at one point and considered one of the best in his sport. And then got injured and was not good with his money and has basically lost everything and is now just like a workaday guy with like probably taken like odd jobs, and he still sometimes gets recognized. He still kind of like talks about the glory days, but is kind of like beaten down, but gets a little glimmer in his eye when anyone does recognize him.
Okay.
So,
I like it. So with this character, are you thinking that like if they did like a pickup game of their sport, I know with the injuries and everything, but if they just did like a pickup game, would they still dominate?
yes, and so originally I was thinking like, now he's like kind of too broken, but I recently saw a video of a guy who's like, he's the lowest ranked NBA player and like gets dogged on by fans, but he literally did an open challenge of like to do one-on-one with anyone, and he just still mopped the floor with all these guys, and he even did like 3-on-1s, and he still like just dominated these other like basketball fans who just thought because he was the lowest ranked NBA player,
It's just a completely different tier. Like it doesn't matter that he's effectively like medically retired or anything like that. They just completely
he's
dominate
still
regardless.
really good. Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about when he did interviews? Were they articulate, or were they like Ricky Henderson, or were they like Hal?
I have gone kind of back and forth, but I think he's like a Joe Namath smooth guy. Like he could have maybe gone into broadcast and whatever the Starfield equivalent of like TV broadcasting is, but he just didn't.
Okay.
So I say he is well spoken and probably has a bit of charisma,
Gotcha.
especially like at his heyday.
So some advertiser would have saw him and like, we need to put him on our brand.
Oh, 100%. He was doing commercials.
Okay,
and
got it.
Like he maybe somewhere has like still a lifetime supply of some food stuff that he endorsed.
Gotcha.
But now that's like all he can afford to eat.
Yeah, it's like, man, this is these Salisbury steaks. I get sick of them, but they fill my tummy.
Yeah.
So, are you envisioning like people just literally forgot about him, or like did he have like some sort of scandal, and that's why people are like, we're not too interested anymore?
I'm open to like him having like a big fall from grace, but I was originally just thinking of it being like injury, retirement. Like, he's like, I've got money, like just spent his money like MC Hammer, and then suddenly was like,
gotcha.
Wait, what? Everything's gone, and then like everyone leaves him, and he's just forgotten.
So it's like every person who's like, don't you look like Tony Hawk? And they're talking to Tony Hawk.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fucking hilarious. I think that's way better than like
every time, because everybody knows the name and they're looking right at him. They're like, you look like Tony Hawk.
So just to give you a little bit of context, the call to adventure, the preamble for the call to adventure is going to be that you all have committed some type of like misdemeanor or crime, and are in custody of the Freestar Collective. We've got rollable tables for that, so we'll figure out, and that'll hopefully give you some inspiration as to what kind of got you in trouble. All right, let's roll to see who's going to talk to us next. Cody, tell us about
I'm so excited.
your character.
So I want to do just like some fucking guy who was living in his parents' basement, and he was kind of just like freeloading there. He was working a dead-end job as a dishwasher at some like shitty little chain restaurant. He hasn't traveled anywhere. He's basically got no skills, but he's played a lot of video games. And he thinks that video games are how like starships actually work and how like guns actually work. So he has all these like preconceived notions using video game logic. And I think so the idea that I had would be that his parents were like, nah, dude, you gotta get out. Like you gotta leave. We're tired of having you in the basement. Fucking go do something. So that's why he's forced to finally like leave his town. And I think I was reading through the class descriptions, and something actually stuck out to me, ironically, in the adept section, because a lot of it can kind of just be like chalked up to luck. It sounds like, and I think that would be really funny. That this is a guy who has no business whatsoever knowing how to do anything, but inexplicably, the video game logic just like happens to
Just
work
works.
out for him more often than not. Like he's like, oh yeah, I've seen this. You just move this throttle, and it just happens to be the right throttle, even in a spaceship he's never seen before. I just think that would be so funny.
It's just where it appears. And if I recall correctly, there's actually a foci that relates to video gaming. So we'll get to that and see if it actually fits with what you want to do.
I love this line here. You master powers or abilities outside the experience, understanding, and sometimes beliefs of others. Well, he's not going to have anything that's like magic, but people are going to be like, how the fuck did that work for you? Why did that happen?
Did it?
It's just, well, I mean, the results are right there. I mean, what do you want?
Yeah, so I think that'd be funny.
And now we have May. Tell us about your character concept.
So I think I won't get into the specifics of it, but basically a character who was born and grew up in a situation where she basically wanted for nothing, where she could only fail up, that like she had an entire like lifetime of like legacy admissions and pre-arranged jobs and everything she could ever want ahead of her, and basically decided she didn't want any of it because it didn't feel right. So what we have is essentially a runaway Nepo baby who has decided to go exploring and see the universe and do something on her own. Basically, I'm thinking a cross between Ella Woods and a human golden retriever. Like a solid, looks-wise, a solid 7, very cute. Not a lot going on upstairs, but she has a knack for, like, let's say, flying. So I was thinking piloting would be good for her.
Okay. Now, at what time do you believe, like, what age do you feel like your character sort of eschewed the family name? Like, was this I was in college and got sick of it? Was I a young adult? Did I do it before I was 18? Like, what are you envisioning?
So I'm thinking she basically, despite having money, privilege, and tutors and everything else, her parents basically both ignored her up until the point that it was time to start choosing where she'd go to school, what she would major in, what the rest of her life would look like. And at that point, she basically said, yeah, this doesn't feel right. And took all of the birthday money she had saved up in an account, because that was hers, and left everything else behind. And like literal, like her not so great billionaire parents basically just left them in the rearview mirror without a word, just like bye.
Do you envision her parents trying to seek her out? Like trying to find her, or are they okay with this?
I envision her mother being somebody who actually has gotten to the point that she's actually taken out, like she's hired investigators to try and figure out where she is. But of course, she has no idea where to start looking. She'd never start looking on the outer edge of known colonized space. She'd probably start in like Belize or something. And her very shitty rich father, her tech bro father, is like, she'll get tired of it and come back. That's a lot of money to say no to.
So he's banking on the prodigal son or prodigal daughter returning in this case. And mom is throwing money at PIs with no real idea of where you might be. Okay.
Right, because she had no idea. She knew nothing about her daughter except that she's a solid 7 unless she's dressed up, and then she's broaching a 9.
She didn't take the fine jewelry, so
no, she left all of that. She only took what she thought was hers, which would be all the birthday money she's gotten over the years and not spent, because why would she need to? I mean, she probably had like one of those Tonka toy truck versions of a spaceship when she was like 10, and like that's all she ever wanted was to be able to fly around and stuff. So
gotcha.
She picked it up early.
So we have some character concepts, some really solid ones. I like it. So the Cypher system has 3 main stats. There's your might, your intellect, and your speed. And these pools kind of dictate how much you are capable of. And these pools are also like your hit points, so they will dwindle as you take damage. These pools also sort of power some of your abilities, so they'll kind of dwindle as you use some of your abilities. You have a stat called Edge, which sort of reduces the cost that some of these abilities will require. So the more edge you have, the more liberal you can be with some of these powers without them kind of cutting into the equivalent of your hit points. And then you have a stat called Effort, which for everyone is 1. And Effort allows you to spend points in exchange for making tasks easier, or in combat, allowing you to deal more damage to an enemy, which is especially important if you're dealing with an enemy that has armor. Since damage, you don't actually roll damage. Your weapons have a flat damage rate, so you have a good idea of the effectiveness without having to rely on like, oh, let me hope I roll high on this D6. Not what's going to happen. So let's see here. So we are going to try to figure out our type. So we have 4 types that we've talked about, and we have several different flavors that we can also talk about and figure out what we want to do. So our types, the first type is warrior. So this is in science fiction, this would be your security officer, your warrior, your trooper, your soldier, your merc. Now, I don't know if that fits with anyone here, actually. I don't know if we have too many warriors. Now, the nice thing is, if you do feel like you're combat based, there is like a combat flavor, so you can always tag on some combat abilities to, something like that. But it didn't really seem like anyone had warrior. Now, individual role, I'll read this just in case, because Mike is probably the closest thing I would see to it. Warriors are physical, action-oriented people. They're more likely to overcome a challenge using force than by other means, and they often take the most straightforward path towards their goals. That description would be the only thing that would make me kind of lean like maybe just because of your physicality, because you can always flavor it with something else if you want to.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking warrior. I was thinking more explorer. But
okay, well, we'll go through these. We'll talk through all of them, because like again, we don't have like the I'm the PMC dude with the guns, and I get stuff that like we didn't have anyone like that.
Yeah.
Our adept in science fiction, this would be your scion, your psionicist, the telepath, seeker, master, the scanner, an esper, the abomination. This is really like your magically touched person. Now, David already talked about crafting his character so that the magic was actually like the technology, and Cody had talked about his character having just not sure how, but things just sort of work out, and allowing this.
I love the ward skill. So it says in like the flavor text on the page there that sometimes they can just be like this invisible thing that you don't really recognize is there. I think it would be so fucking funny to have this kid be like, well, duh, the bullet didn't hit me. My shield still has hit points.
Yeah, I've got
fuck, dude.
My luck hasn't run out. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I was ducking behind waist high cover. I mean, why would it hit me? Next is the explorer. In science fiction, this would be your explorer, adventurer, wanderer, planetary specialist, xenobiologist. This is kind of like the catch-all. I feel like it's like anyone could probably easily fit into like this explorer role if they wanted to. Individual role, although explorers can be academics or well studied, they are first and foremost interested in action. They face grave dangers and terrible obstacles as a routine part of life. So, capable, well balanced. That's kind of how I envision them. And then last is the speaker. So in science fiction, this would be your diplomat, your empath, your glam, your consul, and your legate. So these speakers are smart and charismatic. They like people, and more important, they understand them. This helps speakers get others to do what needs to be done. So this is like your bard, your face. This is your person that's going to be trying to use diplomacy and deception, and trying to sense motive and read people and get this. So that's kind of what we've got going on there. And then as far as flavors, so you'll choose one of these 4 types. And then as far as flavors go, flavors begin on page 34. So there is a stealth flavor for people that like to sneak around a little bit, a technology flavor, which has things like data jack, hacker, machine interfacing, things that you want to deal with computers and stuff. There is the magic flavor, there's combat flavor, and there's skills and knowledge flavor. So between these you've got a bunch of different combinations. Now normally, if we were making our own Cypher system game, you would make some type of class. Like, let's say you wanted to make a bard class, and your bard would be a speaker, and you might give them magic flavor. And then you would call that a bard. And if we, I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but let's take a look at like the speaker, for example. So on page 32, there's all these special abilities that a speaker gets. And that's kind of like the menu that they get to select from. If we were playing a normal Cypher game and made like a bard, we would take some of those magic flavors and replace some of these special abilities with it. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just letting you have all of them available, instead of saying like, well, you can't have inspire aggression, but you can have this magic or whatever. You basically get the full menu. Otherwise, you would be doing substitutions to make like this bard character, to make that a class that you could use in whatever supplement that you're putting out for Cypher systems. So what this effectively does is gives you access to another smaller menu of choices for your character. So I'll start with David, because I think he's kind of thought about this a little bit. So it seemed like that you were interested in Adept.
Right. Adept, with I don't know how much like mental power like a robot would have, you know what I mean? Like the ability to like do a lot of like mental magic, but like repurposing like a, effectively like a force push or something like that could be like easily described as like a robot would do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and
maybe some way to manipulate gravity, perhaps a little bit.
Well,
like a gravity dampener field.
And intellect is going to allow you to, like, I imagine that being like the processing power of a robot.
Right,
so maybe
fine.
like the batteries, for example.
Right.
Did you think about any of the flavors? Like, I don't know.
Technology flavor makes the most sense because I'm a machine made for space travel.
Yeah.
You are a technology.
You
I
are.
am the technology.
You are.
I
a
am the
technology.
table. Sorry, it's a
Oh.
wrestling joke.
So, so I just brought up your character sheet, David. I don't know if that showed for everyone. So under type, you can put adept, and if you want to put in parentheses, you can do like technology or tech or something like that. So we've determined what your type is. And what that means is when you look at those abilities, you can select from all of those. Cool. So an adept, if we go to page page 24, you start with a stat pool. So your starting stat pool is 7 might, 9 speed, and 12 intellect. And then you
7,
get
9, 12.
And then you also get 6 additional points to divide among your stat pools however you want. So you can balance it out, you can min-max, you can do what you want, but your starting pool, those are kind of the minimums that you're dealing with.
Cool.
So as a first tier adept, you get an effort of 1. Everyone will start with an effort of 1. That's kind of like the base for a tier 1 character. You will get an intellect edge of 1. What that means is if you're spending any type of intellect to exert effort or use an ability, you'll reduce the cost by 1. You will be able to bear 3 ciphers at a time. Ciphers are kind of special powers that are meant to be spent. You get them, you use them. Don't hoard them like Phoenix Down. Like you just, this is free to use. There's information about starting equipment, weapons, and special abilities, and we'll get into that a little bit more if you want to start taking a look at some of those special abilities. Now, those special abilities also include the tech ones, so you'll get to choose 4, and we'll go from there.
Okay, choose 4 from the abilities, and then the ciphers we'll cover later.
Correct. Ciphers are kind of randomly rolled.
Cool.
But yeah, the abilities are what you'll get there. And then like the descriptor and the foci will also give you like different abilities. All right. So Cody, you were also thinking adept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you thinking any of the other flavors or?
I kind of like the stealth flavor.
Stealth flavor?
Kind of like the idea that he just happens to find himself getting out of trouble when he shouldn't. Like there's a bad situation, he's just like, I'm just gonna back away, and it just happens to work.
Yeah, because I like that some of the stealth abilities are danger sense, opportunist, ledger domain, goad, and just like general stealth skills as well. So I think that gives you a lot of additional options to kind of play that out. Okay. Mike, what are you thinking?
I'm now like looking at it a little bit more. I think speaker.
Okay.
With combat flavor, I think that might actually be the best.
I like it because now at this point in your career, you can rely a bit more on your celebrity rather than your body, right? But you've still got it. Mm-hmm. Like you've still got it if you need to.
You've become the brains instead of the body.
I like the speaker because there's a lot of like bits in there about like random people helping you or just like kind of like almost charisma bonuses in a way that I feel like plays into like the celebrity of like someone noticing him or recognizing him or being able to like play that card in situations.
And the nice thing is, like, as far as skills go in this game, they can be pretty general. And one thing I'd already had in mind for you was maybe a skill of like being recognized. Like anytime being recognized might be helpful. It eases that a little bit. So like, oh, you're I remember you. You played for the Death Knights. You're that type of deal. All right. And May, what do you think about your character?
I think I'm firmly in the explorer category.
Okay.
Knack for flying, exploring, maybe intuitively can look and see things that most people would kind of just dismiss, because to her everything is new and shiny, so everything should be explored. As a little aside, I think anything involving like the company that is owned by her family, that she has an unusual knowledge of those particular components. Like basically, it's a big company. They make a lot of stuff. It's probably like a power provider of products type thing, like a conglomerate, and anything that essentially she'd be super familiar with being able to know what its value is, how to repair it, where you can get it.
Yeah. So
components.
Yeah. So Cypher System's really good about having skills that are like lore or, like any other type of knowledge. So like you could have lore about this particular company and it could come up and it could ease those. Now,
cool.
Did you have any, were you interested in any of the flavors? Because I might recommend the skills
Please
and
do.
knowledge flavor, just because it opens up a large suite of some of those. So interaction skills, investigative skills, knowledge skills, physical skills, travel skills. It opens up a large suite of things that you could pull from to give yourself a lot of additional skills for.
I like that a lot.
Okay.
So yes, I'm saying that's definitely a yes.
Cool. So Dave, you were looking adept with technology flavor. Cody, you were looking adept with stealth flavor. Mike, you were looking at speaker with combat flavor. And May, you were looking at explorer with skills and knowledge flavor. All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, next we go to Chapter 7, which is our descriptor. So this is the adjective that comes before the noun. So David, for example, is a adept. So now we want that adjective for the adept. There is if you look at page 39 at the top, there is a breakout box that has all of the descriptors. So these descriptors are going to give you bonuses to your stat pools. They're going to give you an additional skill and a few other additional things. So I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to look at these and would like to volunteer one that might work for them.
Yeah. So, go ahead. You can go first.
No. I was looking at the wrong thing, so you go first.
Oh, you fool. Speaking of foolish.
Okay.
I was thinking I was leaning towards lucky, right? But being a foolish version of what's supposed to be like this really smart class, it just feels right.
Well, the interesting thing about foolish is you get carefree.
I know.
Which you succeed more on luck than anything. Every time you roll for a task, roll twice and take the higher result.
Oh, man.
So, like, you're getting advantage on every roll. You take a hit to your intellect pool.
Which I think is great.
Yeah. So, for those of you listening at home, foolish, you gain the following characteristics. Unwise, which is a -4 to your intellect pool, which does not happen often with these descriptors. Carefree, you succeed more on luck than anything. Every time you roll for a task, roll twice and take the higher result. Intellect weakness, anytime you spend points from your intellect pool, it costs you 1 more point than usual. Intellect defense is hindered, which means that it's a step more difficult. Any task that involves seeing through a deception, an illusion, or a trap is hindered. So there's some pretty big penalties, but the ability to basically roll twice on every single task is going to allow you to succeed on dumb luck on occasions, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I like the idea of being in it. I like the intellect penalty. I like that this is like he's just going to be worse at things than everybody else, and I think that's hilarious.
All right. Anyone else have a descriptor they'd like to volunteer?
I was looking at resilient.
Okay.
But like, there's most of it I like, but some of it I don't necessarily like. I don't know. Maybe resilient or risk taking. Yeah. I'm not sold on which one yet, so I feel like I gotta look a little bit more.
Okay.
I'm thinking for mine, maybe Doomed.
Doomed.
I like that one. I thought about that one too.
I think Doomed, because like the idea is this robot has been like has seen some stuff and really doesn't have a lot of trust in humans. So I was like back and forth between skeptical maybe and doomed, but I kind of like the idea of like sometime this robot is like somebody's gonna fuck him up. He's gonna get thrown into a black hole or something. And he's just waiting until it happens.
So I like this actually because it fits into the fact that you are a robot. So Doomed gives you +2 to your speed pool. It makes you trained in perception related tasks. It makes you trained in speed defense tasks. It makes you trained in intellect defense tasks having to do with losing your sanity or equanimity. So why would you have to worry about sanity as a robot? Like, you're ultra rational. But Doom, every other time the GM uses GM intrusion on your character, you cannot refuse it and you do not get XP for it. But you still get an XP to award to other players. This is because you are doomed. The universe is a cold, uncaring place, and your efforts are futile at best. Yeah. So one mechanic in this game is the GM intrusion. So basically, I can kind of deny a success or implement some type of intrusion that makes things go wrong for you all. And as a result, you get experience. So let's say I intrude upon David, for example. He would get 2 experience, one that he keeps and one that he gives to another player for whatever reason. It might be because Mike saved the party, or Cody said something funny, or May's a great pilot. It could be any of those things. And, XP is sort of your currency to be able to do your own intrusions or to advance your character or anything like that. So what this is saying is that some of the times when I do GM intrusions on David, he won't get XP for it, and he has to accept the intrusion. Everyone else will get rewarded for it. It'll be fine. But David's robot, on the other hand, it's going to be rough going for them.
Yeah, please put it on hard mode. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
There you go. You want to track hunger and thirst, apparently. And ammo has weight.
Now I gotta manage that. Yeah. Hunger and thirst for a robot, and I'm curious how that one works. I guess it's like I gotta choose some like D batteries.
Oil and different oil.
Coolant. Yeah. Charge levels.
Some Freon.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, May, any ideas?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with naive for mine.
Which one did you say?
Naive.
Naive.
Yeah, and the initial link to the starting adventure, I gotta do number 4. Sounded like fun.
All right, let's see here. Naive. So naive, you get a +1 to your recovery roll. So you're able to recover pulls, kind of like a short rest and a long rest. So anytime you do a recovery roll, you'll get a bonus +1 to that D6 roll.
Okay.
Trained in intellect defense skills and all tasks that involve resisting temptation.
Am I trained in it, or am I hindered in being able to do it?
You are trained.
Okay.
So you're trained in tasks that involve resisting temptation.
Okay.
So you're wide-eyed. You're trained in perception.
Perception too.
But yeah, you have an inability that involves seeing through deceptions or determining someone's secret motive.
Okay.
So those things are hindering you.
I see. So it's hard for me to tell what somebody's motive might be.
Correct. But
Okay.
yeah, resisting temptation, though, like you can kind of do that, but it's hard to, like, if someone's peer pressuring you into drinking alcohol, you can avoid it. But like knowing why they want you to drink the alcohol, that's what you're having issues with.
Gotcha. Yep, that sounds good.
All right, Mike, what you got? Any ideas?
I'm gonna ask for advice on this one from the GM. I'm looking at hardy or impulsive. I kind of like impulsive.
Impulsive. Let's take a look at impulsive. That seemed like what you were leaning toward, because you're talking about your money foibles.
Yeah.
And that kind of seemed impulsive. Let's see here. You have a hard time tamping down your enthusiasm. Why wait when you can just do it and get it done? You deal with problems when they arise rather than plan ahead. Putting out the small fires now prevents them from becoming one big one later. You're the first to take risks, to jump in and lend a hand, to step into dark passages and to find danger. Your impulsiveness likely gets you into troubles. While others might take time to study the items they discover, you use such items without hesitation. So you would get reckless, which gives you a bonus to your speed pool. You become trained in initiative, and you're trained in speed defense actions. So this feels like really good for like a sports person.
Yeah.
Inability, you'll try anything once but quickly grow bored after that. Any task that involves patience, willpower, or discipline is hindered. So this seems like, I want to buy that jet ski, and you use it once and you don't use the jet ski anymore, and it just kind of sits there. And so I kind of like impulsive. Like, it gives you the bonuses where they need to be, and I think it feeds into maybe some of the money troubles and stuff that your character may have had in their former life.
Yeah, I think I like that.
Okay. So
too many hammer pants and hoverboards.
So when you look at your character sheet, that is what goes before. That's your descriptor. So character name is a impulsive speaker, for example.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Now we go to the bottom of this, because this was a pretty large section of verbiage here. We go to chapter 8, which is your focus. And it talks a lot about this until we get to about page 64. And this is where... so Dave, you're already getting your special abilities and stuff in there. Regretfully, there's not an SRD to be able to pull those in, but
that's fine.
So there's not like a great list of these foci. So you'll start at page 64 and kind of scroll through and see what's available. So let's see here. Now, some of these foci are not going to be appropriate for every genre. So some of them, if it doesn't seem like it's appropriate for sci-fi, we'll have a discussion. But, that's that's kind of like, okay, like, yeah, I'm going to cast lightning bolts. Like, okay, tell me how that works. Now, I believe...
Mine's easy. I already found mine.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're probably looking at. And I'm checking. Let's see. I'm trying to see if you get one or all of the abilities in the foci if it's got multiple. I'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, what was the exact verbiage of yours, Cody? Like it was.
Doesn't do much.
Oh, it's not the one I thought you were going to.
Which one did you think it was going to be?
There was. Let me see if I can find it here. Plays too many games.
Yeah, okay, I did think about that one too.
Okay.
But I kind of like the doesn't do much. So the descriptor there. Oh, let me go back to it. I was looking at the
Let's see here. It doesn't.
You're a slacker, but you know a little about a lot of things.
There you go. And then you get the life lessons as a.
And you get totally chill. That's good.
Yeah. So you'll get the tier 1 power, which if this grew into something larger and you made it to tier 2, improvise life lessons.
Yeah. I also like the GM intrusions there. New situations are confounding and stressful. Past actions might come back to haunt the character. Oh boy. Love it.
So that will be your foci, and you will get life lessons, which, let's see if I can find it here. Choose any 2 non-combat skills. You're trained in those skills. So, so that helps expand some of your skills and stuff. All right. Who else has a foci they would like to look at?
There are a lot of these.
There are quite a few. There's some good ones too.
There are. And again, this is sort of like a master source reference. So if you were making your own, like, STARFIELD game, for example, we would cut some of these out, make our own classes, all this stuff. So I've really given you the encyclopedia to play with here.
It's hard to pick.
It is hard to pick because some of these have really cool powers.
Shreds the walls of the world. That is badass.
That is a very evocative phrase.
All right, I think I know what I want for mine.
Okay, what are you thinking?
I'm trying to think of like what's something. Okay, employs magnetism.
Employs magnetism. Let's find that here real quick. Employs magnetism. That's page 67. You command metal and the power of magnetism, and your tier 1 power is move metal.
Yeah, the reason I'm thinking this is like a doomed robot that is just like somehow magnetic to things just seems like pretty much a like great comedy character. Because like you're just like walking past a wrench and it's like right onto him.
Or depending on like the hard drive situation that you've got going on, like you might be like Tony Starking this, like you might be progressively killing yourself. inadvertently
yes.
because of this power.
Yes. That's kind of what I'm trying to think of, like something that would pair well with the robot being doomed.
You could go with Loves the Void.
Loves the void. Oh,
Loves
no.
the Void. Page 71.
Yeah, so that involves a spacesuit, right?
Yeah.
Well, so there's a type swap option. So what that means is you can swap one of your tier powers, like your type powers, because you get 4 of those. You can swap one for half spacesuit will travel if you want to. Alternatively, like you don't have to do that. You'll still get vacuum skilled and microgravity adept.
Maybe it can be like a requip where he could go from like everyday tools to actual like weapons of destruction.
Okay, I think that employee's magnetism would probably be a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
I like a magnetic robot.
Yeah.
Right.
There's like little refrigerator magnets
he's
all over
trying
the back of him that he can't get off.
He's trying to like type something up, and he just like happens to bump into the wrong thing, and he's like got his hand stuck to the wall. He's like, "Come on!"
Turn. Oh, it's like Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse when he's just getting his powers and like trying to turn off the like. Okay, let's get off the ceiling.
Yes.
There's like stuck to Gwen Stacy's like hair and shoulder and stuff. Yeah.
I like it. I think it's good.
All right. Mike, May, have anything that's tickling that fancy?
I've got mine, I think.
Okay.
Especially, I think this works really well for a one-shot short campaign. Is flies faster than a bullet. His tier 1 is hover, which I like,
Nice.
as he just had that ability, and so it's like the most minor kind of advantage in sports. Like, I imagine more like a football player type. Mostly because I don't like baseball, and basketball seems weird in the future. But like, so he could just like, he jumps up to catch the ball, and his timing was too much, but he could just hover until he's right in position to catch it.
Think about all the,
how does he do that?
like all the opportunities, like just a little extra when you're jumping to catch the ball, like when you're trying to dive to hit the end zone, just have like that little extra before you like hit the ground. And you hit that
boost
when you're hurdling over a guy, like, or going over to the lineman or anything like that. Just the little extra to
the little boost.
Yeah, I like that. All right, May, any thoughts?
So I was thinking about doing Pilot StarCraft, but I honestly think I'm going to have to go with Learns Quickly.
Learns quickly. So that is going to be page 71. You deal with bad situations as they arise, learning new lessons each time. So you will get enhanced intellect, and there's your problem. So those will be 2 new skills for you.
Yeah.
So move metal, just 1 intellect point, but you have the intellect edge, right? So that's So that's just free for you. You can exert force on metal objects within short range for 1 round. Once activated, your power has an effective might pool of 10, a might edge of 1, an effective 2. And you can use it to move metal objects, push against metal objects, and so on. For example, in your round, you could lift and pull a tight metal object anywhere within range. Pull a light metal object with anywhere within range to yourself. Move a heavy object about 10 feet. No fine control. You can't use it on your own body. Power lasts for 1 hour until might pool is depleted, whichever comes first. Okay, so yeah, you can use it, and it can exert might and stuff, and like just you could make your own cover, or you could do a lot with that. I like it.
It's the only ability that I have that's just one, and I think that makes sense for like what that character is.
Yeah, otherwise that's going to get a little pricey depending on what you got there. So that is your foci. So you have your adjective, your noun, and your verb. And between all those things, you have a suite of powers and skills and your stat pools and bonuses and stuff like that. So if you haven't already, we won't get into that minutia tonight, but if you haven't already, it gives you an opportunity to figure out like, okay, I can add those up and get that to where I want it. Let me look at the types here. So each type has information about weapons and starting equipment and stuff like that. So, and also, there's not really currency in this game. Everything is sort of dictated as being like inexpensive, moderately priced, expensive, very expensive, that type of thing. And the rule of thumb is that each of those is like an order of magnitude, like add a zero. So when I was fiddling around with it, I think I saw a rule of thumb where like something that's like very expensive would be like the price of a house. And I used the Tears of the Kingdom methodology for buying a house and determined that something that inexpensive was about 5 rupees. And so the next step up was 50 rupees, 500 rupees, whatever. So when you look at equipment and stuff like that, it'll tell you like if it's inexpensive, expensive, anything like that. If you want to really load up on stuff that's like, well, I've got something I can buy that's expensive, but I don't know what I want, that could turn into like a bunch of moderately priced items. For example, if you want to kit out that way. Basically use rule of thumb, like what you feel like it would be. If you can find something similar in the book, great. But, you know, like what would a futuristic cell phone cost? Would that be like moderately priced? Would that be expensive? That type of deal. I think that actually goes into like the equipment and armaments, which is in the Stars or Fire book. So we don't have to get into that minutia tonight. We can always chat about that in Discord if you want to figure out how to kit out your character. But the next thing I want to do is do our rollable tables to figure out what your characters got into and why they are aboard this. Let's see here, this Freestar Collective penal vessel. Penal vessel. That's for the children at heart.
Classic.
Well,
So
it's already started. Now it's just going to be penis jokes for the rest of this entire thing.
So looks like we're going to start with Cody. So Cody, I've got a set of rollable tables, and I want you to roll a D8, and we're going to figure out your story. So Cody's character found themselves in a spot of trouble. Let's roll a D8.
Is it R/D8?
/R space D8.
R space D8. It's been a while since we've had to do that.
I know. 7. So your prompt is they started it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you reached out for a bit of help. Roll me another D8. 2. All I have written here is the name Boris in quotation marks. So you reached out for a bit of help from Boris, and then roll me a final D8 because unlucky for you,
Hmm.
3. They did it for a laugh. Okay. So your job is to figure out, okay, you you're on this penal colony ship, okay, for a misdemeanor, not like, death penalty, but you're going to have to serve a little bit of time. Okay. You are a menace to society. Whatever happened, they started it. You reached out to Boris for a bit of help, but unlucky for you, they did it for a laugh. So they turned you in or did something for the lulz. That's your prompt. All right.
It was just a prank, bro.
I already know it. He was streaming a video game, and then his chat started like talking shit to him because he was really bad at the video game, and so he started talking shit back to the chat. But then somebody in the chat fucking swatted his ass. The police showed up, and he was like talking to his friend Boris, and like, dude, the police just showed up. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Turns out Boris is the fucking one who called
swatted him
to get swatted him. And then his mom was like, this is it. This is the final straw. Fucking police showing up to the house. You got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so they did. Okay. So your character got swatted while streaming, and the main dude basically like inadvertently got it escalated. Okay. So whoever Boris is, it's like a username. That's great.
Yeah, it's just fucking Boris swatted me.
Okay. All right. Mike, you are up next for the rollable tables. You'll be rolling D7s.
Oh, okay. So /R/D7?
/R space D7. Number 4. You found yourself in a spot of trouble. Mistaken identity.
Oh.
Okay. Give me another D7.
The recognizable guy had a mistaken identity? Oh, no.
3. You reached out for a bit of help from the barkeep. Unlucky for you, ...
So D7?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So unlucky for you. They were also complicit.
Nobody recognized this man. That is so perfect.
And it involves the barkeep. You try to get them, but they're also complicit with this. Like, no, you're the dude. You're them.
You're that guy. No. I don't you recognize me? I'm. You know who I am, right? And then turning to the barkeep, like, you know who I am, right? I'm not that guy.
Back in the night.
Me.
And you fail to realize somebody who used to play college ball with you, and you don't remember. And he's like, "I don't know who this guy is."
Don't act like you don't know.
God,
because I'm impulsive.
You talked about the 48 Death Knights all the time. Okay, I was on that team.
I've got I used to have the ring. I had to pawn it, but I had the ring. It used to be on this hand. You can still see kind of the indentation.
You've just made the sci-fi sport version of BoJack Horseman.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Pretty much.
Perfect.
Pretty much.
It's beautiful.
That's that horse show. Oh, it was so good.
All right, so you can spin a story with those prompts to figure out how that got you jailed. Dave, you're going to be rolling D6s.
That was beautiful, man. That was poetry.
That was meant to be.
2. Okay. You found yourself in a spot of trouble. So I have written the spouse found out. So this could be significant other, spouse. I know that's a bit scandalous for a robot, but this could be somebody else's spouse. Like, it could be somebody else's spouse, actually.
It could be a sex robot.
Yeah, are you modeling it's Fisto or something?
So you just figure out what this means. These are very open-ended prompts. Okay. You reached out for a bit of help, so roll me another D6. I end up with a third cousin. Maybe
Okay,
I
I'm looking
didn't take. Okay, so there's some family drama here. Okay, you reached out to like whoever, somebody's spouse is pissed. You reached out to third cousin of someone. Okay, and then unlucky for you. ...
So good. So good.
They were an informant.
Oh no.
Mm.
So the spouse found out you spoke to a third cousin. They were an informant. So for whatever reason, you are now on this penal colony ship.
Yeah, I think that I was probably a robot for like pretty much the main character of like what like the dashing rogue type, and he has like been cavorting about space, sleeping with a number of different women. Since my personality chip, I guess, wouldn't be intact, I have not talked about this. The spouse found out that I knew about this, and
Ooh, the space Lothario's spouse. I like it.
Not only is going after him, but going after me for knowing, and then I not knowing human, like pretty much like knowledge, family trees, like generally, I looked up the computer, a distant relative that maybe I could get advice about, which would be which would be a third cousin of him. And the third cousin of him was actually a manufacturer for my type of robot for deactivation.
So you're being you're in the process of being maybe decommissioned. Got it.
Yeah, because
you're slated for a memory wipe. Oh, that's death.
I'm so off the books now.
Yeah. This is unconventional, arresting a robot, but this is not, this is above my pay grade. Well, I'm just going to do what I'm told. All right. And May,
So
last but not least, you're going to be rolling some D5s to pull from this table.
Okay.
Goodness gracious.
2.
I got it. 2.
All right. You found yourself in a spot of trouble. ... Time to pay up.
Huh. Okay.
All right. You reached out for a bit of help. This would be another D5. 5. A roommate.
Ah.
And then unlucky for you, they ...
Hold on.
2. Unlucky for you, they had too much to drink.
Okay.
So you found yourself in a spot of trouble. It was time to pay up. You reached out to a roommate, but unlucky for you, they had too much to drink.
I think this is good for Nepo baby of like
Yeah,
That's situation
perfect.
She never would have found herself in before, and now she's like, wait, I need to pay rent in an apartment? Oh, I forgot about that. My roommate, all the money I had, I gave my roommate. Hey, what did you do with it all? Where did you get that 1,000 credit bottle of champagne that you just topped off? Okay. Well, I don't have the money for rent. She paid her rent, obviously, before she spent the money on the booze.
So we've got a someone who was evicted for not paying rent. We have a mistaken identity. We have someone who was swatted, and someone who might be getting decommissioned, and that's the
for failure to
Dennison's.
report an affair.
And those are where our heroes are right now. So when next we join each other, the four of you will not have any knowledge of one another. This is you will meet and introduce one another during the Caldwood venture. I will say that you are on a Freestar Collective ship, so you aren't in like the big space Freestar Collectives, basically like Space Cowboys.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit more. I don't want to say lawless, but it's not really under the jurisdiction of the larger groups, which
Kind of a
the
Wild
United
West
Colonies.
like one horse town sheriff type jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
PC Gamer describes them as the obligatory Space Cowboy faction.
Okay.
So that's who you're kind of dealing with right there. So your homework will be to kit them out with what they would have. And this does include weapons and stuff like that, because that's a thing that you may have. This, again, Wild West, people are expected to have, their irons on them. We've already kind of talked about our rollable tables to figure out how you got into trouble and what presumably your trouble is. And the next time we play, we will start our adventure. So if there are any questions about your character, equipment, anything like that, you can reach out in Discord. In general, this is a D20 based system. When you're doing combat and you do damage, weapons do a flat rate of damage. When you're in combat, basically tasks, enemies, everything has a level. And that level ranges from 0 to 10. And the higher the level, the more capable the person, the more deadly the enemy, the more difficult the task. You multiply that number by 3 to figure out what your target number is on a D20. But Jared, you said the difficulties go up to 10. If you multiply that by 3, it's 30. How in the hell am I supposed to hit that on a D20? This is where things like your skills and your effort and things like that help reduce the difficulty. So when we said that you were trained in social interactions, for example, if I said that something was like a difficulty 4, it reduces it to a difficulty 3. Then you could spend effort to reduce it to a difficulty 2. Or if you had any type of assets or anything like that, you can do these things and you can stack them to reduce the difficulty. So now instead of trying to hit a 30 on that D20, now you're trying to hit something like a 15 or maybe even a 12, which becomes a bit more likely. So it comes down to, how can I justify these skills, which are pretty nebulous, but if I can convince the GM it makes sense, then okay, now I've just reduced the level of difficulty. How can I use these skills and assets and stuff like that to make my job a bit easier? And I think before we go, I got these cool asset decks. Let's see here. No, not that. I need the actual deck. So I've got these asset decks, and I'm going to deal out some assets that you all will have, and you'll be able to use during the adventure. So I'm going to deal 2 cards to everyone, and these will just be some random assets you'll have that you'll be able to use later. So let's see here. It's not going to let me look at them. That's cool. I don't know if that was the intended behavior, but I can see that. Yeah, okay. So let's see. Dave has an asset called One Step Ahead. You think of a way to get the jump on them. The difficulty of any initiative task is decreased by 1 step. And also, I didn't want to steal it.
No way, I say. No way. Don't steal that.
Denied. Thank you. I just wanted to take a look at it there. And you also get healing insight. You see the best way to help an injured friend. The difficulty of any healing task is decreased by 1 step. Cody, some of the assets you have are...
Where do we put these?
They're in your hand. They're just kind of like in your deck.
Cool.
I really wish it would... I want to be able to see these without stealing them. This is goofy.
I got hold your breath. The difficulty of any task involving stealth is decreased by 1 step.
Okay. And then you should have a second one as well.
All right, hit no way, but I haven't seen the second one yet.
It keeps...
Okay. Oh, it was there.
Like the
Right, here, don't do anything.
Yeah. The area is so
Oratory.
small. Okay.
Oratory. You see a way to influence many at once. The difficulty of any interaction task is made to influence or persuade more than one person or creature is decreased by 1 step. Interesting.
There we go. May, you have no impediments. You think of how best to navigate or use your surroundings to move quickly. The difficulty of any speed-based task is decreased by 1 step.
Okay.
You also have mechanical intuition. It seems obvious how this thing should work. The difficulty of any task related to machines or devices is decreased by 1 step.
Cool.
Then, Michael, you have not afraid. You're feeling brave. The difficulty of any task involving resisting fear is decreased by 1 step. And mimicry, you just follow their lead. The difficulty of any task you undertake that another character has just succeeded at is decreased by 1 step. So these cards are kind of just like one-time use, get out of jail free type things. So these are just like assets that you can use to help ease particular tasks and stuff. So these are...
Oh, okay.
These are little gifts from me to you. So these aren't like full-fledged like skills or anything. They're just like coupons that you can use to get yourself out of trouble.
I like it.
So that said, I think we hit all the high points that I wanted to do tonight for session 0. Yeah. Go through, make sure you get all of your stuff for your characters. Again, you can drop me a line on Discord if you have any questions. As far as equipment, there is equipment in the main source book, but Chapter 7 of the Stars Are Fire has probably a more robust sci-fi centric equipment list. Now,
Can we pick from either one?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm getting a hoverboard.
Now, the Stars Are Fire, it has like 3 different tech levels. There's contemporary, there's advanced, and there's fantastic. Okay. So we're running at an advanced society right now. So anything that's contemporary is going to be a level cheaper just because it's probably mass produced. Anything fantastic is going to be a level more expensive, and you need to confer with me before you make that purchase, just because like it might not be something that kind of exists in this. But advanced is going to be like sort of the high end of what you would expect as like affordable. So I'm looking at the Stars Are Fire. This includes like a communicator badge, AR glasses, AR contacts. Let's see here. What else? A hand scanner, white noise generator, lab on a chip, research drone. Different armor like your safe suit, exoskin, ship boots, pressure suit, body armor, like all that type of stuff. Utility gear, the Everlight, environmental tent, repair tape roll. As duct tape, but programmable matter embedded in fabric provides 2 assets to all tasks made related to repair using the tape and taping things together. Each roll has about 10 uses. That's pretty slick. It just knows what it's being attached to, and that's advanced. It's expensive, but that's pretty good for doing repairs and stuff. So that's kind of and if you don't see anything that kind of matches, like again, use the rule of thumb for what you think something like that would cost, and it's pretty flexible as far as like the affordability and stuff goes. So with that said, I'm really good at endings. I think I've had 5 false starts or false finishes on endings at this point. But that said, I think this has been a very successful session 0. Next time we get together, we will start our Starfield adventure together.